Welcome to the Talking Recruitment podcast from the REC. Every week we look at all the latest insights, perspectives and experiences from across our diverse recruitment industry. Hello everyone and welcome along to the latest edition of Talking Recruitment, the REC podcast. My name is Neil Carberry, the REC Chief Executive. Delighted to have you along again for another one of our pod adventures. Lots going on across the industry at the moment, real sense of that bounce back post recession going on apace. Lots of very positive economic tracking data out from the REC over the last couple of weeks. Couple of things to mention before we get into the meat of today's podcast. For REC corporate members, the election of our new board director is in the field now. You will have had an email from our provider Civica with your ballot paper. Please do use that. We are, after all, your organisation, and this is the way to make sure that we have the best selection of REC members on our board, guiding the work that I and all of your REC team does. If you'd like to know more about how things are going and also receive a great economic briefing, do sign up to come along to the REC AGM and economic briefing on June the 23rd, obviously all virtual and online, and that's a mere warm-up by comparison to our annual conference, REC Live 2021, which is on June the 29th. Fantastic lineup of speakers, all about how we bounce back as an industry from where we've been for the last year, and again, all available to you online virtually. Do check it out on the REC website and come along. Places, of course, free for REC members. Now let's turn to our guest for today. I'm really delighted to welcome Gary Wills along. Gary and I recently shared the mic on a Moneybox Live talking about how the labour market's changing. But I think Gary's journey over the last year can tell us a lot about how we've pulled together as an industry and some optimism for the future. So first of all, Gary, thank you for joining us on the pod today.
Hi, Neil. You well?
I am, yes. I always have a little bit of a spring in my step when we get into June. There's a little bit of warmth in the sun, and beginning to think about maybe even having a few days away this summer.
Oh, nice, and getting the barbecue out as well. Definitely.
Absolutely. Of course, as a Scotsman, my mood is going to diminish rapidly as we get into June, and Scotland produce, after waiting 30 years for it, a very traditional performance in the group stage of the Euros, no doubt. We're delighted to have you on the pod today. I think it's really important just to start with your story over the last few months, because you found yourself on furlough at the beginning of all this, and then what you were doing took quite an interesting turn, didn't it, in terms of the discussions you were having? Yeah,
so I found myself furloughed at the beginning of the pandemic, around April, I think it was, and it was a tough period. You know, you go through a sort of level of uncertainty as to whether you're going to be recalled, you know, what's going to happen, how long is this going to go on for. And I just decided that, you know, rather than being negative, I wanted to be positive about it and try and do something that could maybe have a bit of a positive impact. Initially, I did a little charity fun run where I ran from Nightingale London to Nightingale Birmingham on my treadmill for the NHS Charities Together. And it was quite bizarre. I woke up one morning and it was on Lorraine ITV, and I didn't even know. Lorraine on ITV was talking about it, which was quite surreal with my face on the big screen. So it went really well, but it gave me the confidence to maybe think on that treadmill challenge, you know, what could be next? What could I do with the time out? My furlough on the final day of it actually got extended as well. So I decided to set up a non-for-profit support group called Furlearn, where every week I and the team hosted sessions to give people real life skills that they often don't get in the workplace, and people maybe on furlough or job searching can have that sort of support and that some advice and guidance to get their mental well-being at a sort of a better level. So anything from sleep gurus to polar explorers talking about self-isolation, to growth mindset experts, to Mr. Motivator Derek Evans, you know, just doing a live workout for us. It was absolutely incredible. And we still host them now. We've hosted 40 sessions so far.
It's fascinating because I did a webinar for REC members when it was Mental Health Awareness Week recently, and we were talking a lot about, with Hazel Craig and Michelle Flynn, who joined us on that, about preparing people for the return to normality, whether they've been working at home or they've been on furlough, and the anxiety that has built up with people through the last year. So that sense of furlough giving some purpose and also some relevance back to the workplace must have been a powerful force for lots of people you were working with.
It was, to be fair. We ran an exercise I think it was it was later on. It was earlier on in 2020, and we basically took the form, the mental form of people, and when they joined the group, there were a 5.5. But within 3 months of being within the group, we noticed that their mental form had improved to a 7.7. So we realised that when you have that sense of purpose, and maybe you've got that community, like the power of a community, was just imperative. It's just so important, and it really just took off. We partnered with Google Digital Garage, which was a real sort of poignant moment for us, so we could get some extra content being pushed out. We had support from LinkedIn, and we've really spoken with the best speakers out there, and given people just that confidence that they need. And we were blown away when we were nominated for a couple of awards at the prestigious Learning and Performance Institute, the Learning Awards. And we were quite we weren't sure, how we would perform, how we would do, because we were up against the likes of AstraZeneca, Fujitsu, Lloyds Bank. But we were delighted to win 2 golds there. It was that has been the biggest achievement in my career, to see, something from just an idea, from a concept, create, major sort of achievement and help many people.
I think there's there'll be a lot of warm feelings in our listenership about recruiters just getting things done and competing with the bigger guys on effort and understanding there. So congratulations on those awards. And I think that community that you've created around Furlearn speaks to a lot of what I've observed in the industry over the last year of, us all just helping each other out through an unprecedented time and helping people stay in the game and think about what's next and adapt and change.
Yeah.
What's your thinking about where Furlearn itself goes from here? What's as we normalize? Is it a thing that was of its moment in the pandemic with furlough, or is it something that do you think is going to have some legs?
I think it will have some legs. We're in conversations at the minute to make it an official non-for-profit support initiative. I'm in conversations to try and get some funding for it as well, so we can really sort of kick it on and change it, to be fair, because I think everything has to change. You get to a point where it just can't continue in the same vein as what it is at the moment. So I would like to continue it, because this pandemic is as much as we're coming to the close of it, the mental well-being of people, we're definitely going to see a massive impact of that for years to come. So I can see it changing into something else. But what I will say is that these support groups are so important, because we've got 17 volunteers gave their time. We had 16 people out of work. We're all back in work. I'm not saying it's because of Furlearn or the support group, but it's given people that sense of purpose, that time, that goal, that to aspire to, and confidence. So I really do hope that we see more and more support groups and community groups popping up along the way, because it really does make a positive impact on the job searcher.
I think that's absolutely right. And, one of the things that we've been talking about with the REC board, we've just done a sort of halftime review of our strategy, which we set for 2019 to 2023. Is how do we support and help recruiters to talk to each other, whether it's things that we deliver or it's things that we support, like some of the initiatives you've put in around Furlearn. I think that as we look at that, it's really important that we don't forget the lessons that we've learned over the last year, that while no one would have looked for the pandemic or the chaos, frankly, it's caused in our economy and in our lives, that some of the good stuff that we found that we hold on to and maybe just bear in mind in a more sort of reflective way as we go into whatever the new economy brings us.
Absolutely. It's made me think, differently about my life, how I want to work moving forward. So my furlough was recalled in August, but I decided at that point that I wanted to make a change, and it was a big moment for me to be brave and hand my notice in and decide to set up something else, my own recruitment business, Talent Today. So I see a lot of people doing the same. I really do see people taking this moment, taking a breather and thinking, right, what lessons have we learned and what can we do differently moving forward? And that's what I'm trying to introduce into this year.
You see, I always love it when a guest takes the conversation where I thought it was going anyway. So let's have a chat about what you're doing with Talent Today. I think this is really interesting. We know that at this point in the cycle, people are thinking about starting up new businesses, thinking about new opportunities. What's been going through your head as you kind of think about the business that you're trying to build, and maybe the key things you think are going to be important to success in this new market?
I believe that it's not all about profit. It's about purpose, giving something back. So, the business that I've created is being basically built by the furlough community. So we hosted a session where I interviewed 40 job searchers and 20 hiring managers and asked them specifically, what is it you want from a recruitment business? What is it you like? What is it you don't like? And from that feedback, we set up we created everything effectively, like the video approach to how we want to do recruitment, the automation, even our values were created by the community. So our values are a code. That's our superpower, which is community, opportunity, diversity, and empathy. That is powerful because that has come from what the needs of the job searcher and the hiring manager are. So that was probably the best decision I think I made along the way, was to exactly ask what people want right now for a recruitment business moving forward.
I think that's right. And if I think back to some of the discussions we've had with HR directors on the client side over the last year, they'll routinely say that their problems have changed, and as in the problems that they're trying to solve have changed. And with that, what their pain points are in the process of talent acquisition and onboarding. So asking the question, getting close to clients, a big REC theme in terms of where we're advising members to go with their businesses, just to understand how that change has happened. And also, we talk a lot about purpose-based businesses, diversity. You mentioned your focus there. I think getting clarity on that from clients and reacting to that and changing the service offer is really important to meet that. But one of the things I wanted to pick up on and dig a bit deeper on is, I know you're doing lots of great work with video. Many REC members are, lots of thinking about the next stage of technology. But it seems to me that you're talking about a business which is tech enabled, but led as a human service. Given where your purpose and values are?
Yeah, absolutely. I see very quickly, if you said, 6 months time, you say you've got a video focused recruitment business, everybody's going to be going, well, we've got the video tech. I think it's going to be how you utilize it. And I think that's going to be a bit of a journey for the recruiter to go on over the years, because I don't think everybody is comfortable to fully conduct a video interview with somebody. I think it will almost be deemed quite lazy when you see the prompts coming up on the screen and the questions. And that's something at the very beginning I've decided to do. Where I see it going, personally for myself, is, I see it not being not just about the video process, but also how do we look after the people that we're putting in moving forwards, but how do we look after all of your employees as well? So we're almost creating more of an ecosystem as to what more can we do as a recruitment company. And that's something that I'm exploring at the moment, which is, fortunately, I've had the benefit of using Furlearn, for instance, to understand exactly how, what you can actually use to help businesses, lift the morale of their employees to get better performance out of them.
So that ecosystem point, I think, is absolutely vital. That kind of trusted advisor we've talked of for years in terms of where you want to be as a recruitment business, certainly as a recruitment business leader with your key clients. How open are the businesses that you're talking to that idea that your recruiter might also be doing other things in your business linked to workforce planning? Because that seems to me to be a bit of the secret sauce for us as an industry. You can get workforce planning work done by all sorts of businesses. Your classic Big Four accountancy firm, consultancy practice will do it for you, and it will probably cost a lot more than a service provided by a skilled professional recruitment firm. So, are you seeing appetite for that amongst potential clients and current clients?
Absolutely. On the mental health side, I think definitely. I think there's other options as well that we can put into it. But I truly believe the mental health side of it is, hugely key. I really hope as well, that recruitment software providers, as well, they start thinking about that element of it, within the system that you're working in, that there's a button there that you can press that can maybe give you some support that, if you're having a tough day in the office, or if you just need a breather or something like that there's more support available. It's extremely tough at the moment, where we're in a bit of a moment where we're kind of working from home. We're maybe going to be thinking about returning to the office. People are panicking about, having to go back on the underground again and all of that commute. So, I really think there's so much more, recruitment businesses can offer. We've got some really good skills. Let's be honest, we're good, skilled people. There's so much more that we can offer other than just putting, a person into a seat. And that is exactly right now. I'm currently in planning stage at the moment to work out exactly what more can Talent Today provide, other than, doing the video interviewing for you. What more can we do? Because I believe we can do so much more, and we're just at the beginning.
That's interesting. So what would satisfied Gary be like in a couple of years' time? What would Talent Today be doing in a couple of years' time that would leave you looking back going, yeah, we've really shifted the needle on this?
I think it would probably look on a bit more than 2 years, but I know you guys have worked heavily on trying to get the sector fully regulated, right? So I'd love to at some point see and maybe be a part of helping to actually make the recruitment sector professional service. So it is in America, it's deemed as a professional service, and financial services, for instance, you have to be regulated, you have to be qualified to become a financial accountant or a financial advisor. I would love to see that at some point that the recruitment sector goes towards, goes that way, and that there's something which is built which can actually, it's rubber stamped, it's rubber stamped by REC, for instance, I know you can be a REC member, but just something which, if you want to perform as a recruitment agency, you have to be a REC member, for instance, or something else.
I think there's multiple routes to achieving that professional service standard, and obviously it has to be driven by businesses themselves in the sector. But that piece around professional standing, and really driving for establishing what we've shown in the last year, that the sector is mature, it is highly skilled, it is a professional service. I think actually we've demonstrated as an industry some behaviours that probably now we just need to find ways to effectively accredit, and that's certainly on our mind at the REC when we think about the future of REC Professional, our professional institute. Which I think is going to be highly linked to what members want to see, and it's a discussion we're going to have with them over the months and years to come. Well, Gary, I mean, the most important thing to say is to wish you all the best for the journey with the new business, and I hope it's a successful one, and one that that interests and engages as well as you, as well as being profitable.
Thank you so much for having me on the podcast today. On the Talent Today side, it started well so far. We're making placements, so that's the main thing. And yeah, thanks so much for today. I've really enjoyed it.
Where can people find out a bit more about the business if they want to read on?
Yeah, if they want to learn a little bit more, they can go to the website, which is talenttoday.co.uk, or they can find me on LinkedIn. Look for the Bald Recruiter, Gary Wills. And yeah, I'm available anytime if you've got any questions.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Gary. And thank you to all of you for joining us on this edition of the REC podcast, Talking Recruitment. We'll be back soon with another episode. If you've enjoyed this one, you'd like to dig in a bit deeper on some other issues, the whole range of podcasts from public policy campaigning, the REC's work on recruitment and recovery, through to legal issues and business leader interviews like we've just had with Gary. Do dig in there, and I'll hope to see you plug in again to another episode of Talking Recruitment, the REC podcast. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Join me for another episode soon, and check out our back catalogue at rec.uk.com to catch up on some other fantastic discussions that are really helpful for recruiters. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, so subscribe to REC Podcasts to never miss an episode.